Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I am the Crypto Crow. I am live. I am alive. and we're I just figured I'd come out and hang out. We're going to go over some crypto news and what's going on and some of the current sentiment and what's happening because there's a lot happening. And I'm going to be going through my Twitter, everything I've been retweeting recently that's going to basically paint the picture of exactly what's happening today and what's likely going to be happening tomorrow. We're going to look at some charts. We're going to look at decentralnow.com, a news aggregator for crypto and AI, and we're just going to kind of flip through some things and see what we can discover. Because if you're not paying attention, it's very likely you're going to end up broke, and that's the truth. Because there's just so much happening right now. A lot of people have been messaging me, asking me questions about what's going on. Where are you? Are you okay? Is everything okay? Everything's good. Everything's fine. It's been a rough year for everybody. Everybody has been capitulating, selling, getting out of the market, full of fear, full of angst, anxiety, and everything. That includes me. I'm not unaffected. Just because I'm here on YouTube does not mean I'm unaffected by the reality of everything that's been going on in the world and in the crypto markets. And so much, in fact, that as we know, I've been suffering from a nerve issue in my neck. And it has been the absolute most crippling experience of my life. Truly. I can't say it enough. Often I see people, they talk about different things that they have, different ailments, different things bothering them, and you don't think much of it. And I don't think this is something I've ever seen anybody say that they had or that was wrong with them. Probably you don't see it because they're crippled. I mean, they're probably not walking around the world, talking about it. It's so crippling and so bad. It's mind altering. It messes with literally every part of you. And I equate it to, it's funny because I was talking to my wife recently about the movie Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't know how many of you have seen it. But there's a point in the movie where one of the guys on the island gets bit by a shark and they bite him in his leg. And the guy is just wailing and just screaming and just, basically driving everyone around him nuts. And to the point where they were like, should we kill the guy? Because he's driving all of us insane. He's not going to survive the bite anyway. And it's kind of like that. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of like that. It really, really, really screws with your nervous system. I spent the majority of the time shaking. And I'm not poking fun at him, but I felt like Michael J. Fox, just these uncontrollable, you can't control yourself. You're constantly searching for a place that is less painful than the last position you were in. It is horrible. So, I will say I've been doing exercises. I haven't taken any Advil now. I think it's been 2 days. I haven't taken all of the medications that have been prescribed to me because if I don't need it, I'm not taking it. And so, yeah, just everything is good. I would say I'm probably about 75% better. So, for those of you that follow me religiously and are wondering where I'm at and what's going on, that's definitely been a really, really, really bad thing. But you can see I'm here, I'm moving. I've got a setup here again, and hopefully I'm going to be able to start doing some more regular content again. As I'm sitting here in this chair, normally my arm should be like vibrating, like I've got it stuck in a light socket, but it's actually pretty decent right now. I've got my recliner. I'm not sitting in any more of those gamer chairs. So let's see what's going on in the world. How about that? Let's take a look first at Decentral Now. This is actually a platform I've been building because I want a really good news aggregator. And this is decentralnow.com. And this is basically going to be fed by AI and all of the latest articles going on in the crypto space and the AI space. You've got kind of a market dominance indicator here, the fear and greed index. Basically, I'm going to be adding more and more to this, but this is definitely going to start being my go-to for what's going on in the world and in crypto. Why Grayscale thinks Bitcoin will ignore the 4-year cycle this time. Let's take a look at this article. Grayscale argues Bitcoin's market structure has evolved beyond the old 4-year rhythm. Institutional flows and macro dynamics have reshaped Bitcoin's price behavior. I think we've all pretty well established this at this point. This is most likely the case. The 4-year cycle is dead, and I know right now The price is basically at a point where, we need to get above 94,000 in Bitcoin and hold it and then really start to move on. Otherwise, we could end up in a dead cat bounce. That's possible. That's still possible because we're not there yet. But I definitely think that with everything lining up towards like January 1st, some of the stuff I'm going to show you, quantitative easing is kicking off January 1st to the tune of like 44 billion a month and buying back US Treasury bills. I'm pretty sure that's one of the largest like QE stimulus systems we've had in quite some time. Quite frankly, if you look at everything going on, well, you know what? I'll touch on that after I've dove through this a little bit. The halving driven Bitcoin price pattern that shaped Bitcoin's early history is now losing power. As more Bitcoin enters circulation, each halving has a smaller relative impact, which is absolutely true. According to Grayscale, today's Bitcoin market is shaped more by institutional capital than the retail speculation that defined earlier cycles. Unlike the explosive rallies of 2013 and 2017, even really 2021, even though that was a two-peak market, Bitcoin's recent price rise has been more controlled. Grayscale notes that the subsequent 30% drop resembles a typical bull market correction. And, if we look back at previous cycles, we've seen as low as 40% drops happen 3 to 4 times during a bull run, right? The only reason everybody's been freaking out about the price action right now, even though the current price is only at around 35%, right? Maybe 36% from the $126,000 peak. The only reason why anybody cares is because of where in the market cycle, as it relates to previous cycles and its timing related to the halving, everybody thinks this is the end. Now, and many of you will remember during the 2021 peak, not only did I say I believe that this is going to be a two-peak cycle, and I did say that on Twitter, I also came out and I said that this may be the last peak we see of its kind. We could end up continuing to move up with smaller bear markets in the midst of between now and 2030. Okay. So, and I've said that I don't know how many times over the last several years. And at the time, of course, you're never sure. Hindsight's always 2020. And it wasn't anything I was particularly glued to at the time, but it's something that I saw as being very possible, given where we were in the market, given the age of Bitcoin, given how the NASDAQ and the Bitcoin price action lined up very, very similarly. There are just so many different similarities between what was happening in the transition out of the retail controlled market cycles and the institutionally controlled market cycles, which is what we are definitely in now, as these ETFs continue to announce their launches. There are so many new Cardano ETFs that have been announced recently, or the inclusion of Cardano. And that's a really big deal. We've got midnight distribution is getting ready to kick off here soon. I'm going to cover some more of that. But interest rate expectations, bipartisan U.S. crypto regulatory momentum, and Bitcoin's integration into institutional portfolios increasingly shape market behavior. And that's what's going on right now. I wonder if there's a way I can do this. Let me try this. I need to figure out how to, okay, look at that. That's cool. Maybe I can do it this way. I really need to play with these windows and get some different perspective out there. Currently Bitcoin's trading at 90,470. And, I don't know if it's going to continue moving down. I would love to stay above 90,000, but we'll see. Ondo Finance says the Biden era SEC investigation closed with no charges. This is a big deal for Ondo because it's been stagnant for quite some time. Is there really no sound, or is somebody trolling? Let's see here. Ondo Finance said the SEC closed a probe with no charges. Numerous SEC cases and investigations into crypto firms have ended this year, and the former SEC chair, Gary Gensler, was wary of tokenization. And no movement yet. Well, there's probably not going to be much movement. There's not going to be much movement in the market until Bitcoin likely breaks above $94,000 and continues in an upward trend. Because otherwise everybody's afraid. Retail is super afraid of getting into the market right now. And understandably so. I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of this guy because he obviously is trying to troll. I'll put you in timeout. I don't know if you're real or you're a bot, just set up to troll people. But you're the only person talking about sound. So anyway, Ondo, Ondo's likely going to move at some point, probably with the rest of the market. And I'm not even 100% sure. And my new setup is weird because I don't know where my mouse is at any point anymore. I need to figure this out. I think the order my extended monitors act. Where is it? Where's my mouse? Okay, I need to get some little something on here. Tell me where my mouse is. Here's what I want to do. I want to look at my Twitter because I don't know how many of you guys follow me on Twitter. Shows I'm obviously live right now on Twitter. This is prompt. Oh, that wow. I need to get rid of that because that's my own misspelling. It's promptjunkie.ai. That explains some things. But anyway, it's that's another platform I've built recently during my downtime. And anything I could do basically with one hand or with limited functionality, I've been knocking out, vibe coding new platforms and things, which has actually been pretty cool. There's another one there for those of you that are interested. So, okay, input output group. Obviously, some of you guys remember they announced recently that IOHK has changed their name, their company name. Part of me wonders why. I'm not 100% sure. 6 new projects are being built on Cardano right now. Plutus and Aiken scripts activity is up. New node version 10.5.3 improves stability. Lace wallet, which is, I've really grown to like Lace a lot. Version 1.3.1 or 1.31 has released. Smart contract primitives costing near completion. And Laos 24/7 development tracker has been released, because Charles is always talking about Laos this, Laos that, and it's coming here, it's coming there. Now they've released a tracker so that we can actually watch the development of Laos take place in real time, I guess. That's going to be a pretty cool thing. I'm going to check that out in a future video. Ondo Finance announcing, obviously, the whole, case closed, clearing the way for tokenization. This is likely going to be a big boon for real world assets and additional developments on Ondo. So I would keep tabs on that. Any advice on a newly married couple? Get really good at communication now. That's my best advice. I think communication is definitely, above all else, man. If you can't communicate properly, it's almost like having really bad oil in your car, in your engine. It's just a matter of time until your engine seizes up. So, definitely focus on proper ways to communicate with each other. And I think the way people communicate with one another, the way I might communicate with this person may be completely different than the way I need to communicate with this person in order to be heard by either. So keep that in mind. Communication isn't always just being wordy and being able to say a lot. I've learned that. I tend to be extremely verbose, whether I'm really happy or I'm really sad, or basically anything emotionally triggering for me just causes me to vomit words. That's why I'm a YouTuber. I can talk a lot. So that's just kind of the reality of being me. But that can also be counterproductive in a lot of ways. So sometimes just being able to calm down and cool down and really hear things in a way that induces change or what have you. That's definitely the biggest advice I could give anyone. A new strategic reserve bill got introduced in Congress. The bill will allow taxes to be paid in Bitcoin and no capital gains tax. This is massive. I don't know if I'm buying this. Obviously a bill can be introduced, but it definitely doesn't mean it's going to be passed. If there were no capital gains tax in crypto assets, that would be the biggest boon in all markets. And honestly, I don't see that happening because I just don't think that's going to be a possibility, especially if they're currently trying to tokenize everything. If everything becomes a crypto asset, then there'd be no capital gains tax whatsoever. Now, I could see capital gains tax going the way of the dodo before income tax goes, but I'm not sure what's going to happen in either direction there. This is interesting. It's funny. I don't know who this individual is. I'm going to follow them back because he really makes some pretty good points on X. This is somebody who I guess is relatively new to the Cardano ecosystem, and he found the Cardano ecosystem by basically being a part of a lot of other ecosystems over the years, and he just kind of ended up here. So it's funny how nobody talks about this chart, not the influencers, not the experts, not the loudest voices on X, because if they did, the entire narrative collapses. For almost all of 2023 and a big part of 2024, Cardano consistently had more core developers than Ethereum, not because of hype, not because of price, but because real engineers were building the foundations of a research-driven, high-assurance blockchain. This is the type of data people avoid because it forces them to confront an uncomfortable truth. Cardano has always been more developer-dense than they want to admit. And he basically goes on to look at some of the development charts and how, every major asset goes through ebbs and flows in terms of like developer numbers, but Cardano is the one that's been the most consistent through all the years since inception. And a lot of people, when the numbers fall in Cardano, people think, oh, look at Cardano, its developer numbers are falling. It's what happens all the time with all blockchains. All blockchains have gone through it. It's just funny how so many people online, when they're trying to establish social sentiment, whether they're a bad actor or they're a paid influencer that's trying to drop FUD or create FUD, whatever the case might be, they typically love to focus on Cardano. And I do believe that is because Cardano is the biggest threat to the more centralized blockchains out there, especially the ones that are more inflationary. Fact, Bitcoin, Cardano, and Midnight all have fixed supplies. This is actually a big deal. 24 billion Night tokens, 45 billion ADA, 21 million Bitcoin. This is a big deal. I saw something recently that was showing Solana, how a few years back when Solana had a $70 billion market cap, the price was somewhere around $240. Now the market cap is still the same, but the price is only like 170. And that's because of the number of new Solana tokens being introduced to the ecosystem. It basically devalues the value of tokens already in circulation. And so that's one of the reasons why Bitcoin only goes up. Cardano does pretty well, but ultimately there's still 45 billion in circulation. And now we're going to have half of that in the fixed supply of Night tokens. So that's pretty interesting. Harvard is buying Bitcoin over gold, which is actually pretty surprising considering the left have really just tried everything possible to keep people out of crypto assets, keep them out of crypto. There are still a lot of the smaller banks in credit unions and things are still averse to crypto. They won't let you do any kind of crypto transactions. They won't let you withdraw anything into your bank account or it's all a bank account. But a lot of the major banks are now allowing it, and some are creating direct pipelines into exchanges, ultimately because they're all reporting. I think that they want you to put your assets on those institutions because they can better control you with them. But that's just my take. But some of the smaller banks, there's still a lot that will not let you basically do anything with crypto, or they could freeze your account, which is it's bullshit. And I do kind of wonder why there's such a discrepancy. Why is it primarily the largest banks are now allowing it and encouraging it, while some of the smaller banks are basically scared to death of it? And they're using the excuse that there are so many crypto scams out there that are scamming old people and things like that. I think that's just a narrative that's been put out like all the other narratives. I think it's complete bunk, but it is what it is. Let's see here. Coinbase now lets Americans take loans using Ethereum as collateral. Ethereum isn't a tech play anymore. It's becoming a collateral asset, and collateral assets win every cycle. That's a big deal. I actually didn't notice that. I didn't see that before. Just optimized and achieved a peak burst at 111,000 transactions per second using Cardano Hydra, moving ADA in a ring formation. There is definitely going to be a point in time where Cardano is sought after because of all of its technological advancements over the years that everybody scoffed at and said was ghostware and vaporware. We're literally watching in real time all of the other major assets pivot out of what they've been building for years. I mean, including Ethereum, but so many of these assets are now trying to copy exactly what Charles has set out to do and has done with Cardano since inception. And now everybody's trying to pivot and follow in Cardano's footsteps. Now, it's good in a way because the tech is just better. It's bad in a way because we have a truly decentralized blockchain that's doing all of these amazing things. And now we're going to have all of its competing chains doing similar things. The question is, does this give Cardano any sort of credit for being first to market with these new technological advancements, these new methodologies, these new systems that have been put in place in the name of decentralization? Or does it just basically say, okay, wonderful, now these first to market assets that have kind of failed in a lot of ways are now changing their tune and following in what Cardano set out? And maybe, you know, people say, well, great, now we just have these first to market assets with all of these benefits, and you know, so we're going to stick with them. I don't know. Ultimately, I do believe that we are going to have a collective of primary L1s that are all working together through interoperability, and there is no better chain out there for interoperability than Cardano. We're seeing that in real time as well. So one way or another, all of them are going to exist. I think a lot of the top 10, top 15, excluding stable coins, are going to be widely used for a magnitude of different use cases. This is huge. December 8th, Hub City Apartments. This is going to be cool. I have not logged in yet. This is probably the third time I've sat in this chair, but Infinity Rising, this is going to be so cool, man. I can't wait to check out an apartment. I know I've got one coming. Midnight is the chain link of privacy. It's not a base layer competing with Ethereum or Solana. It's an infrastructure layer that any chain can plug into when they need privacy. That's where the real upside of Night comes from. This is what I'm saying, man. This is going to be huge. Crow, how do we check our thaw schedule? I assume it's going to be right on midnight. I have not checked yet. I know that I know that the distribution starts on the 10th. So, and then I think it continues out for 365 days based on when you first, you know, made your claims. So yeah, BlackRock doubles down on Ethereum. That's a given. BlackRock submitted a filing for a staked Ethereum ETF. That's big news. Strategy has acquired, this is 5 hours ago, MicroStrategy has acquired 10,624 Bitcoin for $962.7 million. That's 90,615 per Bitcoin, and achieved a Bitcoin yield of 24.7% year to date in 2025. It's just huge. Tom Lee, why do you think Ethereum bull Tom Lee will sometimes mention Solana but seems to never mention Cardano? I don't know. Maybe because he hasn't bought any yet. I'm not sure. I really like Tom Lee though he's been pretty off lately. I'm hoping he's more accurate moving forward. I had my ADA on an exchange in June. Can I still claim midnight? Probably not. If you had your Cardano on an exchange platform, and I don't know of any that participated in the midnight airdrop. Now, that's not to say that they didn't get the night tokens. They just never, if they didn't publicly say we are going to distribute night tokens to, you know, our holders and Cardano holders that left their assets on the exchange, they don't have to. And so, you know, I think some of them have said some, but I can't remember. It's probably been a month. I don't personally remember what exchanges said they were going to basically distribute to the public, but it's a pretty big deal. The point is, in going through even just what I've been going through, the sentiment has been changing very, very bullish. This is one thing I definitely want to show you because this is bigger than most things. We have never had a bull run without quantitative easing. Okay, we just haven't. The current bull market cycle that we're supposedly in right now has been in a state of quantitative tightening with high interest rates. All of the key measurables that are associated with a bull market or a bull run have not been in place. Okay. So the idea is, are we actually in a bull run yet? Or does the bull run officially begin January 1st with quantitative easing? I don't know where my mouse. Oh, here it is. Okay, now I can show you. The Fed will buy back a record $45 billion in debt every month from January 2026. Massive money printing is coming. So when you add that to interest rates, if we do get a 50 bip interest rate cut this month, that is going to be astronomical. Crow node for life. Thank you. I appreciate it. My node has been running steady. We've been on midnight test net, so we're going to have midnight, ADA, all of that is going to be on the Crow node. So if you're not delegated to the Crow node, you might want to check it out, because Dave, who's often in chat, always in Telegram, always helping the community, offering his wisdom and tech guidance. But he's been doing an absolute hell of a job running the Crow node. I really appreciate him and everything he's done. So yeah, if you're not delegated to the Crow node, you might want to look at that. But anyway, there are just so many different things that are pointing to this bull market really starting to take off. I mean, it could start. Coinbase seems to think that we're set to start a major run this month. And, and that could be true if, in fact, this administration pushes the market bill in 25 days. And that was announced like several days ago. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening between now and even January 1st. I think the next 60 days, I think, are absolutely going to be pivotal. And I think it's really going to show us where we're at. All I can say is that I'm extremely bullish on what's going on. I think we had the capitulation. And if you notice the trend, when we had the big drop and the cascading price action due to the order book errors and all of those things happening on October 10th, that was very likely the bottom. We did touch in similar areas. We got a double touch before moving back up. I didn't even go into charts. I'm not going to do that today. Maybe tomorrow if I come back live. But I definitely think that we're going to start heading higher. I'm hopeful. We need some confirmation of that. Let's see Bitcoin get above 94 cents, maybe retest and then start moving up into $100,000. But I definitely don't think we're done. There are just way too many things. I think the institutions, I really believe a lot of the market has been wildly manipulated throughout all of 2025. That's what I think. And I also believe that that's why we only really saw a few centralized assets and Bitcoin really pump and get to new all-time highs. And I think that once people started figuring out what was happening, a lot of that stopped. We had a big cascading drop, just take us to the bottom all in one fell swoop. It was written off. Sorry, it was a mistake. No, I think it was all planned in a lot of ways. I think the institutions had a big role in it because they wanted to buy in at the absolute lowest prices without crashing the entire market for good. And I think that they just narrowly missed that. But now retail's out of the market, institutions are in, everybody's launching ETFs. There's more coming. Interest rates are about to get cut. QE is about to kick off to the $2 to $44 billion a month, and all of retail is going to start rushing back in, and they're going to basically buy back everything they sold through their capitulation. They're going to buy back higher than they started, but they're not going to care because the prices are likely going to skyrocket from whatever point they buy them at least throughout, the next, 90 days, maybe 120 days. So we'll see. Listen, thanks for joining me. Yes, I'm here. I'm going to be doing more regular content from here on out. A lot of it's going to be much more structured than I did today. I just kind of got some things set up and I said, you know what, I'm going to go in live. I'm going to say hi to everybody. So until next time, guys, thanks for joining me. Grow your coins, and I'll see you again soon.